Hello guys, and in this video I want to show you the game called Contraband Police. Rather than recycle this stupid Russian reversal joke written in the review for the prologue, the most important thing to know is that Contraband Police is the greatest law enforcement simulation ever made. The FPS element was a bigger part of this game than originally anticipated. It now has changed since the prologue that all Paulina had to write a whole new review. Despite the full release of Contraband Police still taking place in the early 80s and featuring body control, what has changed is that the game became progressively more difficult. First player only needs to check the travel documents of people coming into the fictional nation of Akhiristan, which is in the likeness of the former Soviet Union. On the second day, the player will be made to inspect vehicles suspended of smuggling contraband into Akhiristan. On the fourth day, the player will need to account for the sort of cargo that freight trucks bring into Akhiristan. Sometime afterwards, the player will then need to check vehicle registration, check vehicle weights, and make note of damage to vehicles. Once the player has finished making note of everything, a decision needs to be made to either allow the traveler into Akhiristan or turn them away. Anyone caught with the contraband should be arrested and eventually sent off to a good old-fashioned work camp. Contraband will eventually clog up the storeroom, where the player may need space for other crap, so the player will need to make a trip every so often to the police base to unload their contraband of cash. The player will likely also want to visit Vlad stores so they can buy replacement tools to locate contraband with. Vlad also sells weapons for which the player will need in the event that bad guy attacks the body crossing, and even ambush the player in the small area beyond the body crossing that's within Akhiristan. I've been looking forward to this game for years now, and I'm greatly enjoying it so far. It builds off the foundation that Paper Split set, but builds off of it, allowing you to hire new stuff for the body post, upgrade them, upgrade your apartment, buy new vehicles, etc. It breaks up the loop by giving you additional tasks to do outside of your job, such as transport contraband, you request it to the police station, likewise strike smuggles to a labor camp, buy new tools, etc. This part of the game is very enjoyable, and it's what you'll be doing for a majority of your time. It also features periodic combat encounters, and I said mentioning this for the last because I feel that in its current state the game has too much combat. Occasionally your body post will be attacked by a rebel faction, but doesn't happen terribly often. Every now and then you'll get a mission forwarded to you that will feature combat, but the combat encounter that will happen to you most often is random and vicious. Like other reviewers have stated, this is easily the weakest part of the game, and I think drags it down. While driving to any destination, you will most likely be ambushed once, or even twice. You can try to flee from the encounter, but this will only work for you once in my experience, because on the second ambush, your car is at low enough durability that it's guaranteed to explode, costing you a lot of money and needing you to run home and replace it. If you wish to fight the encounter, you're required to interrupt your otherwise short drive, get out of the car, and engage in the shooting gallery for about 5 minutes. Your reward for doing so is a small amount of money, and any ammo you can find on the bodies. No guns, that I've been able to find anyways, can be looted. No extra contraband on them, just ammo. Sometimes smugglers will crash the gate, in which case the player will need to run to their police vehicle. One of 3 possibilities exists, and drive after the gate crasher, which will lead in either the arrest or death of the gate crasher and a time limit to return to the body crossing to discourage players from truly examining the contents of the vehicle that just crashed the border. And perhaps make a quick run to either the work camp to deposit the gate crasher of Vlad's tools. Fortunately, if the player gets into the firefight with terrorists, the clock stops, so the player can either take evasive action or shoot up all of the bad guys. The addition of the UV light to see where contraband is hidden is a nice addition and saves the wear and tear on the tools the player can purchase. All Paulina once encountered 2 red vehicles in a row, when a red vehicle was suspected of smuggling, and without the UV light, All Paulina would have torn up the seats, upholstery, tires, and fuel tank of the first vehicle when it wasn't Smuggler. For better or worse, there's quite a FPS element to Contraband Police. While the mechanics may be too simplistic for the FPS lover, at least headshots